What's up, guys? For those who don't know me, my name's Abigail and I'm 18 years old. Before you watch this, I do recommend you go back and watch my deliverance video. I'll put the link to it in the description of this video. That is going to give you a little bit more insight about me and my story. It's going to help all this make a little bit more sense. So I'm sure, as you can tell by the title of the video, I'll be sharing my story and my journey to not celebrating Halloween, and I will also be explaining some of the dangers of it. I am going to give a tiny little bit of backstory. So basically, I grew up in a household where my mom was a really big Christian. She tried her best to put God's love and basically share the gospel with us. But I had my dad, on the other hand, who was very abusive, very spiritually abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive to my mom. He did even lay his hands on me a few times. And so I was constantly being shown two different worlds. And to make a long story short, I was very confused. You know, I had my mom telling me about a God that supposedly loved me. But then I had my dad telling me how God was a God of hate and war, and how basically as a woman, I can never speak my mind. I constantly had to be submissive to men. Basically, I was to be controlled my whole life, and so many other horrible things. And things like women were less than. Basically, I was worthless. So as you can already tell, I was super confused, like, what do I believe? And at 9 years old, I'll never forget, I was in a grocery store, and I remember looking out like their window and thinking to myself, there must be no God. I don't see God. I don't feel God. I feel like my earthly father hates me, so why would a heavenly father that I can't even see or feel love me? And so that's kind of the foundation I had. Growing up, we always did Halloween. I mean, we did it all. The swing set I'm behind right now, in front of. We went all out. I mean, we had tons of Halloween decorations. We would hang up skeletons and all the lights, all kinds of cobwebs and spiders. We had a couple vampires and stuff like that. We put caution tape around the trees. I mean, we went all out. In the house, we went all out in the living room. We carved pumpkins. We had ghosts and stuff hanging up. Interestingly enough, though, my mom never was really all for Halloween. She never allowed us to do like the witches and stuff like that. So interestingly, I feel like she never really cared for Halloween, but my dad and his side of the family were super for it. And since my dad was obviously the dominating one, we kind of just did what he did. So growing up, I mean, I was around Halloween all the time. And during random parts of the year, my siblings and I would actually make haunted houses. We do it in our hallway, which is kind of like closed off. And, my mom was stuck in a very hard place because from what I've been explained from her, that she never really cared when we did that. Never cared for when we did. She did not like it. But, my dad being so dominating and my mom just being so stressed out and so abused from my dad, she just did not have the strength to really, stop us, if that makes sense. So growing up, that's kind of what we did. I mean, I loved Halloween. I mean, I loved it. It was probably my top favorite holiday. That's how much I loved it. We got dressed up. We went trick-or-treating. I mean, we literally did it all. Around the age of 14, I met some friends online. I also speak very highly of them in my deliverance video. If you haven't watched that video already, I really recommend at least watching it after this one because, again, it's going to explain more of the scenario. But basically, I met these people, super amazing Christians, they are amazing Christians. And basically throughout the next, it would have been 3 years, they really ministered to me. And they really opened my eyes to the possibility of oh, maybe there is truly a God that loves me, because this is a whole different outlook on Christianity. I've never really seen this side of Christianity. They're portraying God as a really, really loving God. So maybe what my mom has been teaching me, maybe there's something to this all. And so I went back and forth so much. 1 week I would believe, the next week I wouldn't. I really had a foot in each world. I was super tormented. I really dealt a lot with suicidal thoughts, mostly from the abuse and simply not knowing Jesus. I was a mess. I was in deep, deep, deep depression. I just, looking back at old photos, I mean, I looked dark. I looked you could definitely tell I did not have Jesus in me. It was just a really rough, 3 years of me battling myself, really, of just dealing with abuse from my dad and all my own problems and dealing with, you know, the thought of maybe God exists. It was just a constant back and forth battle. And it was a very rough few years. So I think I would have been 15, like just turned 15. I had followed my friends on social media. And again, they were always posting about the Lord. And so that's where I went to get a lot of my knowledge. That's where I was really getting fed at. And Halloween came around, and John's his name. He was super against Halloween. He is super against Halloween. And it was so like mind-boggling. I remember being so confused. I'm like, why are you so against Halloween? And I argued with him a few times. I was like, dude, like, you know, it's not that bad. Like, you know, I just do this, and this. And like, I loved Halloween so much. I could not imagine not celebrating Halloween. And I remember, though, it was that year where I feel like the seed of like, what if this is wrong, was kind of like planted in me. 'Cause I remember by the end of it, I was really starting to get intrigued of maybe like, what if this is wrong? And like, I just felt the teeniest, tiniest of form of like guilt. And then I used the excuse of like, to myself of like, well, you know, I'm not even 100% positive God even exists. It was just, again, a really bad inward battle of just constantly fighting against myself. So that's where I was kind of at that point in time. So then a whole nother year goes around. And during that year is when I really started to give my life to Christ. There's a lot of stories in between that. Again, go watch my deliverance video. Again, I get into that there. I just really started to get closer to God. I really started getting closer to these people that were extremely leading me closer to God. And Halloween came back around, and I started to really feel guilty about it. So my grandma, which I really have nothing to do with anymore, very long story, she would always come over and help us do our Halloween decorations. And she would always post a picture of it on Facebook. And I remember, like, I stressed all week leading up to decorating it. I was so scared she was going to post a picture of us on social media and my friends were going to see it. And I knew it. I'm like, if I am that worried about hiding this, if I am that concerned about them seeing this has to be wrong. You know, people don't want to hide something if it's okay and it's good. And I knew it. I knew deep down it was wrong. And the closer I got to God, the more dark the holiday felt. That entire Halloween, I remember that whole October, I just could not wait for Halloween to get over with. Every post I saw from my friends online about the dangers of Halloween, it just convicted me so badly. Sorry, someone knew it by. Anyway, I just really started to get this overwhelming feeling of this is not right. But then again, at the same time, I was really battling my flesh because, man, I wanted to celebrate it. You know, still, I love dressing up. I love the spooky feel. And it was during that, I think it was right around that same time, I was really starting to like get into, I cannot remember his name. Basically, this guy went and he explored this like hotel and he did like a series over it. Like, it was like a haunted hotel. Like, I was really starting to get interested in that. Like, I was kind of bobbing in and out of that. And at the same time, you know, I was getting convicted about that. I'm like, okay, I'm getting super convicted about Halloween. Now I'm getting really convicted about this person I'm watching. And I knew it. I knew it was wrong. I could feel it was wrong. And that's kind of where I was at in that point in time. Let me clarify, the YouTuber I was watching, it was nothing like super bad. He just basically they're really like suspenseful. He's this guy, his mom is he's like a redhead. I could not think of his name. I do not recommend watching him, but I did watch him at that point in time. But I stopped watching him like relatively quick after Halloween because at that point I was just like, man, I do not feel comfortable anymore, and I cut it relatively quick. But basically, about 2 months after Halloween, or actually not less than 2 months, I ended up reaching out to these friends, and I ended up telling them how I was getting abused and all this stuff. And I really started opening up to them. And it was in that moment, my faith in God just took off. Because I opened up to them and I told them the place I was in, it really gave them the opportunity to help me. So they knew how to help me. So they really ministered to me very, very strongly. Really from that point to even now. And so that's kind of where it started. And so a few months pass. We actually ended up leaving my abusive dad. So all this is going on. I'm continuing to grow closer to God. And I remember my friends has just started their ministry, a new ministry. And I knew I needed deliverance. I had watched videos from my friends that they had made over deliverance. I felt tormented. I knew I needed set free from all the things that I had taken a part of. And I just knew there's just a lot of junk in me that needed out. And again, I don't want to take away from a deliverance video. Long story short, when I was, time flies. I guess I would have been 16 or 17. I would have been 16 when I got deliverance. I was 16 when I got deliverance. Went to the ministry, got deliverance. I was set free from so much stuff. And I remember I was driving back. My friends drove me back to the condos that we were staying at. And I remember on that drive home, I was just sitting there like, and all of God's glory. You know, I had completely surrendered my life to Christ. I was given the gift of speaking in tongues and all this amazing stuff. And I remember Halloween was brought up in my mind. And I remember thinking to myself, I will never celebrate that holiday in my life ever again. I do not want that darkness back in my life. I am set free. I feel amazing. I feel just absolutely incredible. I will never give Satan any kind of foothold like that in my life ever again. And I remember there's no way I'm going next Halloween celebrating it. Like, it is done. And, you know, at that point, I had not watched that one YouTuber in months. Like, I cut that pretty quick. But I do remember thinking, like, nothing, anything even alluding to, like, you know, the scary, like, ghost. No, I'm done. And I completely cut it from my life. And I can confidently say I have never gone back to that. I was super suspicious also, I forgot to add. I cut all that. And it was just this amazing feeling of God's presence. So I was actually baptized 2 months later on my 17th birthday. It was awesome. And that next Halloween came around. And I had a talk with my mom. And I was like, Mom, I don't want nothing to do with this holiday no more. I want nothing to do with it. If y'all want to celebrate it, that's fine. But I simply can have no part of it. And my mom was 100% on board with me. She's like, she agreed. And so together we went to our basement. We pulled up every single tub of Halloween decorations and all that stuff. We walked it to our dumpster and we threw it away. And I remember just this burden being lifted off of me of like, it just felt so good to throw away all of it. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with the song Burn the Ships by For King Country. It's about setting your bad past on fire, moving on. That's what it felt like. Throwing it away, cleansing ourselves, and all together as a family moving closer to Christ. And so we did not celebrate Halloween last year. That was our first year. I kind of did a little bit on social media of, you know, the dangers of Halloween. And this year I'm going even more hardcore. You know, I have learned so much from even last year. I even got another little bit of deliverance. It was back last June. So I've had like 2 little things of deliverance, you know, since then. And it's just, I've grown so much. And so I definitely feel more confident in making this video this year. That's one reason why I didn't make this video last year. So I'm super glad I waited. But yeah, that's kind of my story of me coming to not celebrate Halloween and me completely cutting that stuff out of my life. And again, this year, I am working super hard to minister to people about the dangers of it. That's kind of my main focus this year. So you all are going to probably see a lot of content based around that during this time. And so now that you all know my story, let me explain the dangers of Halloween. You want to make sure we're not getting Satan any kind of foothold in our life. And Satan can get a foothold in our lives in so many different ways. Through the way we talk, through the entertainment we watch on our phones or in person, through the people we hang out with, through celebrating bad holidays like Halloween, through the music we listen to. I mean, he can enter in so many different ways, even through family members. We have to guard ourselves in every single way. You know, looking at Halloween, it's such a dark holiday, guys. I want y'all to stop and think for a second. When it's Halloween time and you go to the Halloween section of Walmart, I want you to walk to the aisle and I want you to look around. And I want you to tell me if anything there represents Christ. Short answer is going to be no. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, Halloween is getting worse and worse. Because I feel like when I was younger, like, they had bad stuff. But it's getting even worse now. Last year, he was 4 at the time. My 4-year-old brother, which, you know, he's completely new to the idea of not even celebrating it, We were walking in Walmart, and he pointed to the Halloween decorations, and he looked away. And he's like, that's wrong. We've never taught him that. And, from the mouth of babes, if my 4-year-old brother, who's completely new to all this, knows it's wrong and knows it does not represent Christ, we, as more mature Christians, should know better. I could go on and on and on about the terrible things people do or use during the Halloween time, like the decorations. I mean, just talking about it makes me disgusted and almost nauseated of how disturbing it is. And it's just, and I read an article of all the horrible things like murders and children being hurt on Halloween. It's disturbing. I mean, guys, Christians, open your minds and hearts. It is not worth the candy. It's not worth it. Just saying that out loud, it's just I don't understand Christians when they think it's okay. And I get extremely irritated at churches that say, oh, we're not celebrating Halloween, but they do the trunk or treat things. Yeah, that's the same thing. You can do the okay, quotation mark things, still playing a part in it, and you're still participating in Halloween. No. Instead, why don't we hold mass gatherings and we sing worship songs? We do deliverances over people. We set people free. We spread the gospel hardcore on Halloween. How come we don't do that? How come we don't teach our youth and our children that? That is so much more important than dressing up and giving people candy. Giving people candy is not going to lead people to Christ. Simply handing out tracts Jesus loves you is not going to cut it really either. I mean, it's great. You can do that too. But doing that just itself is just not going to cut it. Unfortunately, the ministry that I'm super close in, I do not live close by. So I'll be holding my own little thing here at the house alone that night. I'll be, praying, and I'll be interceding over people in ministries that I know that are going against Halloween that day. Hopefully next year I'll be moved in a place, Lord willing, I will be moved and living in a place that has the ministry that I love to attend. So I'll be able to be there in person next year. But it doesn't matter the point is, it does not matter where you all are at. If you don't have to be involved in a church. You can be involved in a church that does Halloween. You do not have to participate in it. You can simply hold a small gathering at your house. You can just go after Halloween yourself at home. Pray, read the Bible, listen to worship music, worship Jesus, go after him, talk to a friend that may celebrate Halloween. Try to show them the dangers of it and how people that do celebrate Halloween is literally giving a foothold to Satan. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat this in any way. If you celebrate Halloween, you are literally celebrating the holiday for Satan. Satan loves Halloween, man. He loves it. He especially loves when he sees Christians engaging in it, because guess what? That turns the focus point off of Jesus and onto him. He loves Halloween, and he loves and he sees Christians participating in it. Guys, we want to make Satan mad. We do not want to do what Satan wants us to do. Pretty common question I get here on YouTube is I'm dressing up as a fairy and, I'm not doing the bad things. Is that okay? And like I just said earlier, no, it is not okay. You are still participating in it. It's still not okay. The moment you are participating in it, the moment you are in the wrong, just don't do any of it. Worship Jesus strongly in that day. Minister, just literally make a point to spread Christianity, just to make a point to Satan that you want nothing to do with him and his holidays. It is dark, it is evil, and you want nothing to do with it. And in fact, you're going to take it a step further and spread the gospel and spread the light as much as possible. And I'm really hoping all this makes sense. I'm really new to the ministry. I've been learning a lot from my friends, and it's been a journey myself. But I'm really hoping God uses me. I'm really hoping God is speaking through me. One person that watches this, if they feel convicted and they decide to stop celebrating it, just one, it'd be all worth it. I say that quite often on my channel. If my channel just saves one person, then it is so all worth it. But yeah, that's basically the end of the video. And also, again, this reminded me, a lot of people want to base how Halloween was started. And this is something that I just recently learned, but it does not matter how it started. It matters how it is now. It completely matters how it is now. And the fact is, right now, in this moment of time, Halloween is nothing but evil and witchcraft and completely dark. and completely geared towards Satan. So I don't care how it was started. I'm sure I'll get comments like that, and I will just give them the timestamp on this video. Does not matter. It matters how it is now. And Halloween is nothing but a dark, evil holiday, and you cannot get around that fact. With that being said, I pray God's blessings over you all. Make sure you go watch my other long-form content. And I know I keep saying it. Go watch my deliverance video. Just an amazing, powerful video. I've gotten so many amazing commenters saying how much I touched their lives. And I would love to touch yours. I would love to spread the gospel to you. And if you already know Jesus, I would still love for you to hear my story. Maybe you can learn on how to minister to other people through the way my friends minister to me. And yeah, that being said, again, I pray God's blessings over y'all. I don't know. I changed my outro so much. Sometimes I say peace out, but I feel like this is a serious video. So with that being said, I really appreciate you watching this video. Please share this video to your social media accounts or anyone, to a friend, so the gospel can further be shared. This is a topic that more Christians need to speak on, for sure. And so, yeah. And that's it. Bye, guys.